So maybe we can start. I was just asking how much time we have. Shepna says we have to be out at 10 and clean up before. Normally I don't need that long, but I think it would be very important to have a kind of exchange now that you heard Nick and his mind-blowing economical data-backed interpretations and thinking theories. Thank you. Thank you. I was searching for a word that's not couldn't be seen as insulting or something.
No, feel free to insult me. I get it all.
So theories. Yeah. So I don't know how many know the Sun Protocol already, because I heard some people saying they saw the video. Okay, it's not. Yeah, fun. So fun. I think you will be bored a bit, but just a bit. So because I do want to actually come back to that, to the normal pitch first, to ensure that we are all taught on the same spot, especially Nick also, and that we can move on from there. So my regular pitch is, if you've seen it, you know it, is to ask you to close your eyes for a certain time. I won't get naked. I won't start doing things and that. But it would help me to visualize something to you. So I would just have to ask you to close your eyes. I will let you know then when it's over. So because I think closing your eyes is the only way I can really relate to you here in Germany what it means to have no access to energy. Because no access to energy means that not only the nights are dark, it means that your whole future is dark. Because we forget that energy is the basis of our productivity. There is no computer, there is no machine, there's nothing that enhances our productivity levels if we don't have access to energy. And you can open your eyes again. And at the moment, we assume we have 600 million people on the continent of Africa alone that do not have stable access to energy, that do not have a future, and that are on the move. That's why Europe, the US, everybody's talking about building fences, about who's responsible for these waves, right? Who's responsible to send them back? That's our question. The actual question we should be asking us is, how do we solve it? And in a sustainable way. We're more concerned about sustainable energy than we are about sustainable humanity, which is very weird and speaks for us, right, as societies. At the same time, there's a great chance that we have. We live in unbelievable times. There's so many exponential technology developments that we can use. And one of them, or maybe I come back first to the problem issue, is we talk about people without energy. One of our answers up to now was to try to develop areas, regions. And after 50 years, we have to concede that our development goals were not reached. The amount of money that was put into development, in best intentions, great projects, has not created a sustainable life in the areas that we put the money in. And we have to ask ourselves why. And I think that if Bitcoin proves anything at all, it's not money, obviously. I don't think deflationary money exists. It's just something, your brain stops. Why should I buy an espresso today that could be worth a tenth? I could get 10 espressos next week with the same Bitcoin? Are you kidding me? That would be the worst coffee experience of my life. No, I think what Bitcoin proves, has brought us is the knowledge, the reminder that the only thing that works across all cultures, that is proven to work across all cultures on this planet, the only thing to motivate people is profit, is more of something. So that's something I really gave some of the core values that I learned in crypto. Although I could have known before, it kind of just, I don't know, it came down with me on Bitcoin. And then there's another thing I think we also overlook, and it's the impact of technologies, how technologies work and impact. We had SMS here, we still have it, we use it for messaging. SMS has changed finance in Kenya first, right? M-Pesa, mobile money system that started as an SMS solution, today represents 40% of the gross domestic product of Kenya in terms of transaction value. Transactions are being done in M-Pesa, not in the Kenyan shilling. They're only backed now by the Kenyan shilling, right? And that is what technology does where it meets no legacy systems. We overlook that our legacy system, our saturation, creates issues for technologies to actually create the real impact. And last, I think, Africa as a continent, there are many markets in there, many different cultures. There are more cultures, more languages on this continent than on the rest of the planet. Still, we treat it with the word Africa. The continent of Africa will be what Asia was in the 80s, 90s. It is like the thing to be in the next decades. The thing that will grow like hell. And I hope it will be the thing that will find the way to live sustainable, because there are many chances there. And when I talk about leapfrogging, it's not only cash and mobile payment, not only jumping leapfrogging the banking branches. It's so many other things that are happening, that are possible, and that are real. And so leapfrogging is real, and that is why we decided to leapfrog as well, because we are on the left, right? Thorsten Schreiber and Aida Schreiber, who founded Africa Green Tech, a company that is very much environmentalist. And on the other side, you have Shabnam and me, who are, I'd rather say, more crypto than environmentalist, but Shabnam is like a mixed creature. So I can only speak for me. So I'm more crypto than environmentalist, definitely. Because when we met each other in January, I met Thorsten in January and Aida, and met Shabnam in February. And we very quickly understood that what combines, what we share as environmentalists and cryptos is the very deep belief that every human on this planet has the right to live in freedom and self-determination, right? And that's the second thing that crypto brought me. It's the understanding of the American kind of label terms, freedom and self-determination, and the price it brings, right? Self-responsibility. And in the meantime, we found many more people that are supporting us, that are giving up their time for us to support us to create what we call the Sun Protocol. Because energy, blockchain, economy. That is how we think it all adds up. And Nick mentioned it. It's always about the ICO. It's about funding. If it's not about the ICO, it's about VCs, let's be honest. The issue with VCs is simply that the whole system of VC only functions in an exit. Right? Today we live in a time where startups actually in the first paper have their exit prepared. You have to imagine what that means. If our, I don't know, at least in Germany, the culture of companies, why you found companies, was not or is not that you exit. It's about having a vision, about wanting to change something, wanting to solve something. Now it's simply about the exit. And that's not because the startuppers are crazy people that are greedy. It's because that the system incentives are laid like that. The VC needs one exit in 1% to 10% to accommodate for all the losses he did in the 90 to 99%, right? But it's an issue. And that is why founders find ICO so attractive, right? And I'm totally with Nick that the utility token argument with an ICO, I called it in January, totally bullshit. There is no utility token in an ICO. Nobody invests in ICOs for utility. You invested in ICO because of gains. That's it. Full stop. And now finally the SEC has waken up, FINMA has waken up. So the first our understanding, FINMA is very soft, trying to be nice. The SEC is not so nice. So I think it's important. So our idea is also, that's for other reasons as well, we have two tokens, right? We think these are two different kind of agendas that we have. One is we want to fund our vision. And for that, yes, I bend over and do an ICO, whatever it takes. And so it's a security and a security token, by definition. And our goal is to actually make it so regular friendly as possible so that they can understand in their terms. The idea is to fund to use the funds to buy as many solar containers and produce and ship and field them as quickly as possible. Because we have, I believe, only a certain window of opportunity. With the solar container, we can immediately, once it's set up, we can immediately sell energy, electricity. We can purify water. We can cool water in agricultural produce. And we have a partner that enables us to offer internet access. So we have actually a basic set of services and goods and products that actually already help us redeem. I shouldn't have used that word. That help us create a business case.
Sorry. You should have jumped in first.
So, but now comes Nick, right? I truly believe, or we believed, or our talks, we came to the conclusion that if we want to achieve self-determination and freedom in African villages, that's our goal, we're not looking at Nairobi, then we have to really figure out how to work it out. Because at the moment, let's be honest, it's speculation, and nobody has a clue how you should incentivize your mom to install a wallet. So one of this aspect, usability, is solved by what we call the loyalty program. So we actually sell our electricity for the local currency. It also helps us keep up our business. And what then we issue a voucher, a loyalty program, right? It's like buy some more. We issue a voucher that allows you, let's say you bought 1 kilowatt hour, and the voucher allows you to, again, redeem 1/20th of a kilowatt hour with the voucher. Now the only difference is we put the voucher in the form of a token. So to get this bonus, you will have to install a wallet. And because we don't believe you install wallets because of fun, but because either you have a pain or you have a gain. So we think, hopefully, it's the gain. And what we talked about, tax to Shetland, of course, mainly tax to Shetland, is that we could actually, depending on cultural issues that have to be sorted out with each and every community we talk to, we could, as the German mindset is like this, we could actually reward or productivity levels. So instead of just giving 1 token for a kilowatt hour, as we would do for TV, we could give out 1.5 token for the same kilowatt hour if it was used to sew clothing with a sewing machine. Because we can measure energy use patterns. Yeah? I won't say more because last time I got something, I got some feedback. Yeah? So I know it's not the smart meter, some algorithms and somehow they do it, and I don't care how. The important thing for me is we are able, after a certain time, to understand what machines are using the electricity, and therefore we are able to incentivize it differently, because in the German mindset we would say if we incentivize productivity more, growth will be more, right? And this is our goal, right? Prosperity. So that's that. Now comes the fun part that Nick and I will probably in the future have lots of discussions about, So we think that because we have now defined yes.
So how would you scale this diversity of incentivization mechanisms? I mean, is it you as a team who decides how this is woven into the protocol?
No, it's we like I said, we are kind of, I mean, we're both not really the normal Germans, but we are, you know, we are socialized in Germany. I'm sorry, huh? But we are socialized in Germany. We are very, yeah, our mindset is very German. So we are thinking about productivity, and we
overcompensating.
and we, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Maybe I can.
No, it's what we agreed upon is that we think productivity is a good measure, and Shutnam said it has to be measurable, right? Otherwise, what can we do? But of course, I always said, we have to deal with every community itself to understand if that is in their value set. Because it's ours. When we're talking about self-determination, you always, I mean, at least that's my goal, right? And it's a big thing for me, right? The vision, the dream, to enable people to live in a self-determined way. I don't care which way. It's just their decision. That means it's their decision what we incentivize.
Yeah, but really one thing is you bring electricity to a place that had no electricity before. So you have capacity there and people are going to use it little by little. So you can think about incentivizing more consumption because you want that the solar panel gets used up, you know, fills its capacity quickly. So, and the first thing comes to mind is you can just, you know, throw in all of the incentives, or you can just really incentivize things that also additionally, you know, that are going to bring the people income. Then you have a positive feedback.
Can I use this for my son? The energy he puts into gaming or
No.
doing for school?
Not yet.
Don't give him free credit for whatever doesn't help you. So,
Yeah, okay.
but the thing,
I really don't know what to do.
and the thing is, and that's what we're discussing with the token engineering groups or in crypto in general. Guys, we now can program incentives. That's a given, right?
Yeah, and I
What
think
incentives? Do we know what we want? We know that things like productivity work well until they flatten and then things get really ugly. So we know that this is going to be a good Kickstarter, but we also know we will have a lot of data, a lot of time also to try out different incentives, try out how we are going to capture what the people value in their different cultures. And the one thing I always say, if I can measure it somehow, we can test it. But and you can measure a lot of things in energy data. So my smart microgrid Munich people know it's called disaggregation. We had a meetup there last time, and I think that's a good start because it leaves us to things that are factual and not just okay. We sat down and we said, yeah, let's incentivize X, Y, Z. That's not happening. We incentivize things that we can measure, and if it doesn't work out like we thought, we can reiterate. And I think that's also why Nick's valuation is important, because you can automate this process. You try something, you know if it works, you have an optimization goal, but also you have a boundary where you know, does it go south or north?
there was a question. Then.
Yeah, how does this model consider the very volatile availability of renewable energy sources?
The very
So,
volatile, sorry. Can you
The
repeat?
very volatile availability of energy sources. So how does this token model change?
What do you mean the very volatile? I mean,
So the price normally adapts based on the availability of resources. So
okay.
based on
That
different
one thing
supply,
is, I
unit
want
price.
us to get as much solar data as possible quickly, right? Yeah, hundreds if I would find the support, but 50 would be great. But hundreds would be even greater. So then they're there. The next issue is the sun, right? In sub-Saharan Africa, we are aiming at. The volatility is quite low. I mean, we have rain periods, no question, right? And we actually have calculated for that, and even more in terms of setting up, because you cannot even drive anywhere at some countries when the rain period is, there's no truck. You know, this thing is heavy, right? but besides that, I don't understand the volatility that you see.
Normally prices change based on if you don't have a good to sell, the price maybe, if it's very limited, goes up, right? Normally.
Well, which good do I not have to sell? I don't get it.
For example, you produce energy during the day, you get your coins, and then you spend them at night when the price may be higher. How does?
Yeah, but it's a 1/20th, right? It's a bonus program, right? When you fly with the Lufthansa from Frankfurt to New York, you get great miles, yeah? But these miles don't allow you to fly back. It's flying 10 times Frankfurt, New York, that allows you maybe to fly from New York to New Jersey, maybe. Yeah? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But other than that, I don't understand really the issue at the moment. You have to calculate carefully the bonus program, the loyalty program. It doesn't, that's an issue. I'm with you there. But other than that, the volatility is actually very low, right? Because you pay for them. The sun comes down on the solar antenna. The PV produces electricity if there's a consumer.
And it's sold at a fixed rate in local currency.
And it's sold.
That's what he's missing.
Okay. It's sold. Yeah, we have. It depends on the country, right? At the moment, the countries that we know of that allow these solar antennas to be set up without talking about blockchain and all, we range from 23 cents euro in Europe, measured in euro, to 38 cents in the evening, right, for consumers, and different tariffs for businesses and for communal infrastructures like schools and hospitals. But also the countries the governments are adopting because they are learning, right? Because they're understanding some things about this system. So the volatility, I see there the biggest issue. The governments, the regulation.
There is no volatility like we know it, a lot of wind and then the sun and trading also does its part, but these are really, a container comes to a village of 3,000, 4,000 people and they now have a smart grid. And they make the price, in many countries it's just fixed tariffs, and we now just have another optimization potential by giving out a different rate of the rewards.
There was a question?
This was exactly this question.
Okay.
That means the price is the same in the running period and also the same on the 9, because I think it's raining like 2 months a year.
Yeah.
But then it's the same price even when it's raining.
At the moment, the idea is we can sustain the same price in the rain period.
Yeah.
We will see when we hit the first rain period. Africa Green Tech, our partner that produces these solar antennas in Boston, who is also a team of the Sun Protocol, just set up the first 5 or have now 5, I think 5 or 6 deployed, and the rain period in West Africa will be, I think, June, July, August, something like that. So we hopefully get data soon, but also they're very fresh. So yeah, maybe we need another year. Yeah.
You talked about the price of the electricity in the kilowatt hour. You're aiming at the poorest people ever on this planet. I'm sure you thought about that, but are they going to be able to pay that price?
It depends. Yes, at the moment, and this is where Thorsten comes from, right? Yeah. Thorsten started all of this. He had the unbelievable drive to solve getting solar energy into sub-Saharan Africa. Because he visited Mali, his wife is from Mali, and he stood in Bamako, the capital of Mali, in a, I don't know the what anymore, but in a big power plant, running completely on 1950 MAN diesel. Right? And that's funny in a certain way. In another way, it shows how corrupt and sick our planet is, that there's somebody selling diesel to sub-Saharan Africa, and nobody actually stopping this. No World Bank, right?
And diesel's roughly 60 cents a kilowatt hour. So your choices are no energy, 60 cents a kilowatt
Exactly.
hour, or 38 cents.
Exactly.
You're a hell of a guy, Sam.
No, I mean, of course, one of our biggest issues, or not issues, but the danger areas is if the diesel kind of, drops to prices way below $1. Then we have to, argue a bit different because the people really don't care if it's green energy or not.
I just want to have the cheapest, right?
Well, like we did 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's that now that we saturate it, we take our latte something and talk about how green our energy is, right? Because we have the time.
What is your kilowatt hour price?
At the moment, between 23 cents and 38 cents. Okay, so back to the idea to actually issue the token. One thing was to solve the incentivization of dealing with the technology. And the other thing is that because we're doing it this way, I'm not sure if this 1/20th will be the exact number, by the way. I'm just using it because most people can calculate 5%. Is the token has received a fixed value. And that is the reason why we think we have the basis. Yeah? It's a hypothesis. I cannot explain why. I can give you my expectations. But this is exactly it. If everybody believes in the shell to have a certain value, then we can exchange corn, fish, and everything else for the shell. Now, our shell is not gold. It's not a shell, obviously. It's energy. And the fun thing is, this can be redeemed immediately as it is the basis of your working or consumption possibilities.
Are you creating a new currency out of the solar energy?
There's a tape here. So it's a loyalty program, right? And so this loyalty program, yes, yeah, I don't care. Yeah? The idea is, the vision is really that we enable self-determined, that we lay the basis for a village, limited, self-determined economy. That means the basis of every economy is sharing values. And as soon as this sharing values gets complex, we call it money.
So technically, I mean, I'm just going to start with a thought, but technically most people would want to then use it to redeem for the 38-cent energy.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the wall will allow peer-to-peer trading so that they could do currency trade as opposed to single redemption function at the solar tanker.
One thing, yeah, well, that's interesting. The idea now, until just now,
Okay.
was
It's a startup.
I'm open. Exactly. Yeah, was actually to first solve the wallet issue, right?
Yeah.
To get the wallet distributed.
Yeah.
Which are light clients, so it's not really a blockchain yet either,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, but now we have the distributed, and now happens somehow the leapfrogging that it's not only in the Kreislauf, in the circulation,
Yeah.
thank you, in the circulation of the energy hub, right? Electricity, but that it actually gets started to be used to exchange goods and services in the village. And after that is when I first started thinking about then, these transactions. And there, we simply have to first establish to understand what these transactions will be to then try to limit it. And with the 38 cents, it's in the night. It's always great when you're open and disclose everything because the feedback is much more valuable. So the thing is, actually, we do not allow businesses and the communals to use the energy in the evening, right? It's only the private consumers that are allowed to actually buy use the 38 cents. That has to do with the storage capacity, to be honest, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Although I met today at the Elita Solar, a company that has a container full of batteries. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So the next phase for us is actually then see that the network gets really distributed. That's a challenge too, because it's hot. Computers and hot is not so good, and also they're expensive normally. Even a Raspberry Pi is about, depending on how great you do it, between 20 and 50 euros. Yeah, and that's a lot of money in this context. But still, that challenge is one to solve. And the funny thing is, once we have that, actually what we have created is a dwarf a dorf, a village, I really need a beer, a village blockchain, yeah? Distributed in the village and by the people themselves. And the funny thing now is that all this, I don't know who of you deals a lot with blockchain in corporations, but the big thing, besides financial, is supply chain. So, right? And now the interesting thing is we can initiate the supply chain at the bottom, not from the top. Right? If Alnatura wants to buy organic papaya, they can, but they go into the system of the village. Villagers they can, of course, determine themselves if they want that to, but they could have a transparent transaction basis with outsiders, right? That allows to minimize corruption, that one villager gets $2 for papaya and the other one gets $2.50, right? Or vice versa. And we think that also this is a great CSR case, right? So actually we could, which we haven't done and won't do until we're there, actually create an additional program just for CSR of corporations, so that they can whitewash themselves, because that's what it's about, yeah? By doing trade with us and with the villages themselves, not us, sorry. So, yeah, and if I say us and village and all this kind of confusion, that's because I personally and we share the vision that, and for me it's very strong, that at a certain point, at a certain economical point of the company, of our project, we should transfer, once we have made enough money, the investors got their money, and we have created a second generation solar panel out of one. Yeah, that's my absolute limit. Then I want to try everything possible to transfer this thing within the blockchain nodes to the villagers themselves in terms of ownership and property ownership, right? Because that's actually what we're talking about, what this technology can do. A decentralized community, right? And I was talking to, I didn't get your name, I didn't ask.
Frank?
No, sorry.
Yao.
Yao.
Yeah.
Okay. We were just talking about that. What probably most people don't really reflect that deep is we have protocols so powerful on the continent. In most countries, we have social protocols that are so unimaginably powerful that they're scary, that people kill themselves rather than to be kicked out of the social protocol. And now imagine we actually combine the strong social protocol that is there with our idea of decentralized technology as a protocol to enable the individual. So it also solves very issues that we have to solve with technology, right? Governance in most cultures is very well solved. We may not like it, I'm with you, but that's not my thing, right? I'm gone from, we tried to improve the world for 5 decades with our ideas, right? It didn't work. Every culture has to find its own way. That's true freedom. And the best part is, or at least we differ a bit from a couple of ICOs, this thing is not a white paper anymore. It's there in the second iteration, so the prototype is already, I think, I don't know how many months old, but it's old, and it's, yeah. Thorsten and his team learned a lot there, and now we actually have the second generation deployed, and it is able to create the energy. We will learn a lot this year while we go try get our funding. So we will have more and more data to better and better work on our assumptions, to validate them already, although we're not there, and then go down, and like Shepnam said, then comes the interesting part of piloting, right? Because it's not only the blockchain technology that needs to be piloted. Environmentalists and proof of work doesn't really work. Although I am a big fan, because I always say proof of work is the only mechanism that we know of that has been validated for such a long time, while at the same time having such a high value. Why should somebody try hack some coin, some okay, I'll talk like a Bitcoiner, some shitcoin. There's no incentive, you know? But Bitcoin is like the incentive itself. If you could hack Bitcoin, you'd get rich like hell. And if it's not a person, it will be the NSA, it will be Russia, China, anybody who has the capabilities would hack it. So, it's how we put it, right? We can talk about refugee crisis, and we can, see it as problematic how the world is, or we can embrace the time that we live in that allows us to choose to live a life close to our values, to quit jobs, do the things that we think we understand, love, want to do, and we can see it as an opportunity. There are 600 million future clients, customers on the continent of Africa, and one day they will be customers of themselves. And that's the Sun Protocol. And I always say I have the great opportunity to be the complete freak with cryptos and complete freak with sustainable people. So that's great. But I think we can do it. We have the means to really gather the data to understand how to do it better. So yeah, thank you. That's a Bitcoin address.
Is it not?
Yeah, since Berlin. I added it on the fly in Berlin. Sorry. I was at a libertarian movement conference on a wonderful thing, actually. I'm not a libertarian, or not yet. But I always talk to Shepnam about why I believe crypto is the right way, and we don't offer 100,000% for our ICOs, right? We can't. Yeah, we were very low on that, actually. Yeah, we're like your regular IPO. But what we do is actually exactly cater the basic values of cryptos, right? And I was telling the Shepnam, like for 6 months, you were ha, ha.
So many
And,
cryptos.
And so for me it was like awakening that last weekend I had the chance for 2 complete days in Berlin to meet people from Colombia, Mexico, everywhere in the world, that actually validated the hypothesis that these people are alive, that they are doing well, and that they understand what value this project has. Yeah, so that's why I added the Bitcoin address. Yeah, it's a great proof, you know, even if it's dust. Yeah. Okay.
Just a question.
Yeah.
So you got the hardware part that is given by Green Tech, or what was the name?
Yeah.
They're really building the panels and shipping them to Africa.
Yeah, exactly. They are the hardware kind of side, right?
Then you have the Sun Protocol, and then you want to have the interaction between Africa and any other continent. So at some point, did I get that right? So that's also the next point. So you first want to have like inside the village, you want to have like a sort of currency building up, and then you're trying to interconnect that with any continent, any other economies. So how will they earn their coins?
Who they
like Europe.
To us or whatever?
If you want to trade with Africa and Europe, will you also get your coins? I'm saying coins.
There is a notion of people that say yes. I personally really could not care less. Mm-hmm. If they want to, they can transfer euros. Yeah. Okay. And we kind of solve it. Yeah. Really I don't mean it in an arrogant way. Yeah, sure. But it's really it's something I think. We can solve. We can do like solar coin, right? Issue for something like or the CSR kind of way. But we could also just say, give us your euros and.
So
shut up and we share it back, huh?
Your focus is first of all on Africa.
Yeah, definitely. So, actually, only, but to solve it, you have to at least it's not something that we decide on, right? If the village says it doesn't want to interact with anybody outside, even that with the next village, then that again is self-determination, and so be it, right? Sad for us, but there are hopefully hundreds of other villages and the possibility is there. Because to be honest, for the business case, of course, for the calculations, this is actually where the magic starts, right? Because you have lots of transactions with the volumes that are interesting, and therefore, and also with parties that actually can handle the transaction fees where it's fair and not where it's kind of mixed. So yeah, that's why I from a like crypto hockey stick kind of perspective, this is where, if at all, the hockey stick kicks in with the amount of villages.
And how do the private users solve the technical issue about having their own wallet and everything? Are they all having mobile phones or something like that where you could have an app?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, what is secure? The World Factbook. I don't know who knows the World Factbook.
CIA.
CIA, exactly. Right. Since 2000, the CIA has published for all countries a structured data set. So you can compare countries with each other, which is, I would say, the best source for country kind of inspection. And so the World Factbook says for Niger especially, but also for other countries, that the penetration of mobile contracts per capita, per person, is roughly between 70 and 110%. Right?
Okay.
And if you look at Niger, you have like a population that 70% of are younger than 25. So you have a high probability that for those that actually don't have the ability to buy a phone. So you have, for those that actually have the ability to buy a phone, you have a high probability that they have a phone.
So there's access.
So there's a phone, right?
Okay.
But there's no data. I could not find data to validate or prove if it's smartphones or you know, the fun things. So so for the fun things though, what people forget is that blockchain technology is not a visual technology. It's alphanumeric, right? It's not a nice thing to do, but it is possible to use it with the good old Nokias, yeah? If you put your brains to it. And the fun thing is that M-Pesa has solved to actually use these kind of old phones when it started with illiterate people. You know, they found a way with the dash star and 4 numbers to get to illiterate people how to send, receive, and confirm transactions, right? And if they can do it, come on, it's Vodafone. We can do it, right? And maybe that's something. And sorry, I love Vodafone.
For the camera.
Yeah, but that's something maybe that we also don't talk about enough, right? We are stunned that there's this leapfrogging, yeah, and it's cool, yeah. And M-Pesa is owned by Vodafone. Vodafone controls money now in countries, right? And that's actually not something, you know, we should think is, you know, correct. Yeah. So this is also another aspect why we have to hurry. Sorry.
Just wondering on the token voucher process. Have you tested that already?
Test it in which terms? Like in a village?
Yeah, so I mean, not like with the token, but have you tested your assumptions? Did you try that out already? How people are accepting it?
Well, there is, we ourselves know, but we have researched what telephone companies are doing, for example, in Mali and Niger. So what they are doing is when they have kind of, they have certain consumption, what?
Bandwidth users.
Yeah, well, yeah, like in a period of time, they have different consumption of their bandwidth. And so what they do is they send out SMS to people when it's low, offering some kind of rebate, more minutes. Yeah? And so the system is there, the idea is there, thanks to the telcos. Yeah. But for us ourselves, no, because at the moment, you know, some protocol hasn't anything, and Africa Green Tech hasn't tried it yet. They're engaged in other issues. with the hardware itself, right? It's not the point for them to do the crazy stuff that Shebnem and Sam are trying to do. Yeah. But there are bonus loyalty programs. It's not something that we are kind of bringing to the country. But yes, we will have to pilot how they work. Yes, please.
So how is your, so you're pretty much doing an IPO, right? You're selling equity in the project, that's what you said, right?
No, I said it's a security. A security is a security. It doesn't necessarily have to be equity bound. So actually what I asked the lawyers to calculate is a preferred share, because it's exactly what a token is, right? For the regulators, it's the closest that what they know what a token is. You don't get any right to vote, yeah, on the company's issues, but you get a flexible, a dividend, right, which the directors or the board decides about if it's profitable, and you actually speculate on the overall company development on a secondary market, right? Called the NASDAQ today, yeah? And for us, it's, oh God, different, yeah?
Two questions. Curious, putting a piece of infrastructure in, typically like solar needs to have like a very high IRR to work, so there's a very short risk horizon, so it's typically like a 33% rate of return. I'm curious what the rate of return is anticipated at your 28 to 38 cents. I know it's a range because who knows yet. And then the second thing is, as you manufacture these things, the cost of manufacture get cheaper as you get better at it, reduce scale. So I'm curious, where are you starting at? Where do you think you're going to go? So like the first one will be super expensive, and then they'll just get better and better.
At the moment, we're looking at starting for the solar container between, I mean, it seems secure to say 450, okay?
Okay, per soul chain for initial cost. Okay.
Right? Including setting up a grid, including the purification system for water, including the people you need in the village themselves.
Okay, so distribution, training, and all the...
Yeah, well, not training, that I haven't figured out yet,
Okay.
how to calculate it, because it's a bit complicated. Where, why, how...
And you have to learn, right? That's
I mean, I can do an assumption that there will always be the capital, and they can write to the capital, and then we do it there, but it's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Really, it's completely bullshit. But everything else, setting up the grid, training the 2 electricians, a security guard, all the stuff you don't think of, we actually have included in this rough 450, yeah, and that's where we are at the moment. There are some things to solve still. The big training, like how do we, we have a very different kind of topography. I mean, villages are not easily accessible. They're not easily.
Distribution's a challenge. Right?
Exactly. So solving like the human distribution, right, is the bigger challenge than solving getting the solar containers by truck to every village. Yeah. Besides the rain period. But yeah, that's still in work, or at least I didn't have the time.
So,
Yes.
I get the impression that actually it's for the villagers within the village to do the trading. So would you have a token for each village, or would there be the same token in all different kind of villages?
My idea, and you stop me if I say something wrong, is to it's the like look at me kind of screensaver, is to use one basic technology, to find the one technology that we think will work everywhere well, after the pilots, so that we are able to connect them if they want to. So, but every token, every village would have its token, but the technology in all villages should be the same to be able to, not having to talk about atomic swaps to just connect them, right?
And the value for each node would be the same, so it wouldn't make it.
That's one of the theory.
The R is the same, and the question is whether how the people are going to value it. Like they exchange it now for a shirt, and how much do they want for a shirt? Is it 2 days worth of electricity or 2 hours? And these are the things I think it's going to be really interesting if we can measure that type of exchange rate through the data that we have on the transactions.
And the thing, if I may, what was so mind-blowing for me, as a non-economist, to see with Nick's papers, was this idea of the redeem, right? The redemption phase, right? Which we actually, by coincidence or whatever you call it, actually have the same, even the same order, right? What we don't have, and like you said, which we also don't think is important or valuable, is the speculation part.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We cut it down.
So that's why I was saying it's so mind-blowing to when you like really have, you know, spent so many weeks and months with so many discussions, and you can ask Chapman, it's not always all, you know, empathy. Yeah? Because you're so deep into it, it's so emotional at a certain point, right? You lose your actually rational, what you tell your clients, you forget, and you're, you know, so deep into it, you don't act rational. But it took a long, hard work from Shebnem, me, and a couple of other people, but mostly Shebnem and me. And it was just so mind-blowing, right? I'm not saying we have figured everything out and everything is correct and all of that, but to see someone completely else, from a very American kind of 71 Bretton Woods, you know, the gold standard, yeah, kind of mindset, yeah, and who's gone through hedge funds and everything. That was the mind-blowing thing for me, that to see that we're not that far apart, and so to have this feeling that we're not so far off, yeah. So thank you really for that.
Yeah. And one other thing is really, so this exchange really is great, and that we can have it across continents via Skype. I think that makes the difference between to all the other bubbles. Whatever this brings is going to be very different. And also the other thing is there is a really, so it's so easy to make things complicated. Like the first designs we were, it was like really complicated, and at first it sounded like it's good, but then, you know, the first discussions were more like, okay, Shebnem, now we kind of understand, but I'm gonna need 2 hours to pitch this to people who've never heard of Africa, sun, or crypto. You know, even if this is great, we're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good. And these are the things that where you actually know, okay, it kind of sounds spacey and scientific and so on and so forth, but it doesn't work. And we went through hell to make it simpler, and then all of a sudden I dared to contact Nick and like, I think we have something. And he picks up this formula, and I look at it and I'm like, can this be? And he tells me that he's been just working on it, and he had now this new ideas, and it's also a sign, or not sign, but I think a lot of, we are synchronizing the knowledge that we get from all of the sources, we are interpreting, and then this convergence into a common sense happens much faster, and we can also search that. That's the whole this token engineering community shall be about as well.
Quick question. I'm not sure whether I got distracted by this incentive for leisure and productivity. Is this, because I think it's even not the main purpose of it, it's just an additional feature. So I got distracted by it. So asking the question, is the purpose to use the production of solar electricity to introduce something tradable within the village, and then
it's not either or. It's at first it's really the system's self-interest that it gets used optimally, and we can program this by saying, well, at first it should get used, it needs more consumption.
And here comes my question with my son before, because I'm the one telling my son, you get more tokens when you study than when you do gaming.
But do you know which one is better for him?
Well,
like, does he get smarter maybe
exactly, that's the question. So I think, and it wasn't stated at least I didn't hear it clearly. So I think I heard once that you want to have the villagers decide themselves about the scheme. What is product?
You can use refrigeration for cold vaccines or good beer.
Yeah.
You know, but should someone from outside the country determine that?
No,
Maybe if they own the
so the
system.
villagers will
Yeah.
define it.
Yeah, this was an argument. I mean, this is like a typical startup thing, right? Or at least I think, yeah? At the beginning, the idea of the productivity level, very open, yeah? Was simply the idea that we could also actually, for our own needs, increase electricity consumption much quicker if it's used productive, because it creates value. The one who gets the value will probably reinvest to create more value using more energy, allowing us to sell, to reach the maximum capacity of the solar antenna quicker, right? Because we have to be honest, I didn't know before January that the solar antenna produces nothing if there's no consumer, right? I didn't know that photovoltaic works in this weird way, right? I had the assumption, bam, woo. Right? It produces nothing if it's not a closed circuit, right? And there's no closed circuit if there's no consumer. So at the beginning we were thinking very much about how to quickly get the electricity sales going, and during that kind of iterations or discussions, we found that since we can measure productivity, it would be great for us if we can incentivize the productivity use level, because we could therefore reach the capacity quicker. Then we figured out, wait, we said it's self-determined, right? So we went a step back and said, well, you know, we have to figure that out. Then, very correctly, Sheldon said, yeah, okay, you can figure out whatever you want, yeah? You can ask them whatever you want, they can decide whatever they want. What am I supposed to do if I cannot program anything to measure it? You know? How do you measure happiness? Right? And so that's where we are at today, that we are saying, we think the productivity incentive is great for us, for them, yeah? We will offer it as our idea. We will get the feedback, and if it's not something the community wants, then we won't do it. And if they want to measure something we cannot measure, then we will solve that problem when we get there. And maybe we won't measure it. So, yeah. Maybe there's like an election, yeah? I don't know. People say, okay, it was great, yeah? I don't know.
Well, there is an election. I mean, we can also just take one side and just measure what's happening. What are they buying first the light, and then how is it distributed? Just let go, and then compare it to the other where we did program something, and there where we did not program something. And one thing that would prove what my theory is, that we just see the same thing happening in both, but where we incentivize it just happens faster. Then I would say, guys, look, we didn't do too much, just make it faster. And I guess that would be, we would get a go. If we see that this village has a lot of energy consumption, but people are really unhappy and they like, I don't know, argue all of the time about, you know, who gets more tokens, and the other villages using less electricity and they're happy, then I'm like, okay, let's try to measure happiness in whatever data we have.
Just I mean, from an anthropology perspective, field anthropology, just having data and longitudinal data about so much would be fascinating for a lot of people. I mean, I'm very impressed with the concept of not shipping a product, but shipping a process that's learning. It's far more interesting, right? Because it's adaptive and
exactly.
very
So,
cool.
and then also at first I just saw this reward token. I'm like, no, I was the one like it has to be more more complex. But then also just follow the data. Why did this token get into circulation? Because someone used it and someone build a product with it, and some other guy wants to buy that product and uses that token again that he earned through the productive or any use of energy. And all of a sudden what I could see is we will have the trace of this in the data, and that's also something where you can say, okay, now we can really think algorithmically how to determine how the token should circulate in relation to what we see as activity in this economy.
And
And you could say, if it rises quickly, we need to issue more tokens because obviously something happened and we don't want to damp it because the solar panel doesn't mint tokens quickly enough. And all of these things is actually why I got into it in the first place is data-driven learning. There are no experts anymore. Domain experts, they're not going to beat what you could really get if we have the data, if we have it curated, if we have run it through benchmarks. And I truly believe that we have now the computing power and the algorithms and the experience that we can have truly data-driven systems, and they're much better to govern than my mind. That can
Even
somehow
from a macro perspective, it's super interesting. I know some governments, I think Bangladesh actually is one of them, where they actually use cell phone usage in minutes as a proxy for the health of the village, the economic health. And so they knew the village was talking a lot, and they were able to spend minutes and time that economically things were going well. If the village out in the middle of nowhere wasn't, they'd send a government worker out to assess what was wrong. Had the village well gone? Was there a sick cow? Blah, blah, you name it. And so that data at the individual level may have really interesting applications at higher levels in terms of response or state intervention for good or bad. So the data is super interesting.
that's the
totally.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't get, I really don't get, why there is no great economy kind of school focusing some, you
They all want
said
to
it's
be
not a
physicists.
science, but it's like, it's the first time that we have money that is in its flow completely transparent.
Yeah, you can track the cash flows, right? It's super
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, it's like, it must be a dream for somebody who's in economics. I don't get it. Really, there's no Harvard, no Yale, no Oxford, no Munich, no Cologne, nobody that you know of that is publishing papers on how completely transparent money is flowing and why. And this is crazy. And I believe that if we really get there, this will be one of the most interesting cases that we actually, I don't think we can make economics a science, but we can make it data-driven, like Shabnam says, right? We can really prove where do things stop, why, and you know.
The person we want to talk to is Esther Duflo,
Okay.
the MIT Poverty Action Lab. She's probably one of the best developmental economists because she's data-driven as opposed to narrative-driven. So narratives are the stories we tell ourselves to keep ourselves happy.
Yeah.
And they're typically,
Esther?
white people telling narratives about how they think other people will be happy in other countries. That's a bad way to spend money and to drive other cultures. But Esther Duflo, D-U-F-L-O, and she's at the Poverty Action Lab at MIT, and she's one of the really coolest economists in development economics. Super awesome.